For the people who are not familiar with MaNa, he started in Brood War a very long time ago, and he's been one of the most successful European Protosses we've ever had. I think that's safe to say, especially in the early days of Wings of Liberty. MaNa won a couple of very big tournaments, and there was a time where it was all about MaNa and Stefano. And this is a solid 10 years ago, but it really was a thing. He's gonna duke it out with Hype, and Hype is opening up with Scorpion. So Scorpion versus Wasp here.
Yeah, Scorpion Wasp is very interesting. I think we talked a bit about it, right? Where it's like if you let the Wasps onto the workers, you're in trouble. So you've got to be very proactive about keeping the Scorpions a little bit in front of the workers, right? Got to kind of work for that as the Wasp is going to be very active. The Scorpion player definitely has to expand a little bit more slowly as well. So you're oftentimes forced into your tech earlier. So a couple things to be looking at there.
Yep, I see a couple people in the chat missing Stefano. Stefano played yesterday, guys. We had him in a best of 7 against Nidix, and Stefano looked fantastic. He was a Wasp enjoyer, and he 4-0'd Nidix, who's a very high-ranked player too. We've got interesting tier 2 units, by the way. We've got Shockers and Destroyers versus Heavy Hunter and Crusader on the side of MaNa. It's going to be 3 base against 3 base here in the beginning, so it's all out battling with just melee units. Those fast Scorpions against those even faster Wasp. Let's see how this is going to go. I think I favor this a little bit for Scorpions, because Wasp, they just don't kill workers that quick anymore, and they also don't kill a base very quickly.
Yeah, I think as long as you're very proactive with, like I say, the positioning of the Scorpions, I think it's very, very good. If they get surrounded in some weird positions and the Wasps get on top of your workers, it can be kind of tough, but I think Hype has done a very good job of positioning so far, and he's pulled his Scorpions off the natural as well to kind of come defend here, but I think he needs to get them back over there. MaNa's going to start attacking that location instead, so I'm actually kind of impressed how quickly we expanded. MaNa is now going to go up into the Stinger and Butterfly combo, so very fast-moving army. I do think MaNa's army with the tech, I prefer a lot more. Even with Shockers on the other side, I don't think Shockers are that scary for the Stingers, as long as you take big spread-out fights.
It's still going to be very close. I would love to see MaNa maybe just build like 2 or 3 Butterflies to only harass, and then besides that, focus on the Wasp and the Stingers. As we do have a couple of Scorpions going for the run-by, as MaNa has tried so hard to find damage, but he's actually the one who's going to take damage. I think that's at least -6 workers here, Rotti. I don't think the Wasp can really prevent this.
No, I don't think so. They do have a pretty good surround now, but yeah, about 4 workers already downed. As MaNa cleans up. That base is low, but obviously only half HP, still very much still alive and kicking. His techs are now available. And we are going to immediately just make Stingers. A couple of Butterflies, maybe just go hit some bases around the edges while we focus on pressuring the front with the Stingers.
Yep, I mean, Butterflies are also very good in the fight. If there is nothing that shoots up, they do deal a lot of damage. MaNa should actually be able to take out this base, man. Stingers do pretty decent damage to the base. When you combine that with Butterflies, combine that with all those Wasps working on it, it's going to be fine. Butterflies are not going to do good in a straight-up fight against the missile bots. As you guys can see, the missile bots just disappear immediately. And this is where this game is going to be so hectic. MaNa cannot fight all these Shockers straight up, but what he can do is maybe base straight, try to go for a surround, force his opponent to keep a lot of units at home, and then eventually clean this up. But how do you get on top of this many Shockers?
Just mass around. You just have to go in for a massive arc, kind of like this. Shockers do shoot fairly slowly, so the Stingers will kill a few off before they recharge. So the Shockers so far have done pretty well, and they've stayed quite far back as well. A couple of Stingers are trying to get on top to the top right-hand side. I mean, as long as you just clean this up right, you are golden as MaNa, and that's exactly what's now happening. Wow. Because he's got that base advantage. So he gets the cleanup. It was all about that mass concave.
And it's all about that fake counterattack, right? That forced Hype to keep so many units at home, because if all these units were here, there's no way MaNa wins that fight. But I think Hype maybe respected that counterattack threat a tiny bit too much. He kept too many units at home. That was a fight that I think was winnable for Hype. If he had a few more Scorpions, a few more Shockers, he did it in the end. Now it's MaNa who does find an opening this time around with his run-by, and a combination of Wasp and 2 Stingers kills workers so quickly. This has game 1 victory for MaNa written all over it. Just great multitasking by MaNa. He does still need to worry about a terrifying army one more time. We've got a couple of Butterflies in the mix. Will the Butterflies win the fight against the missile bots? They barely do. And that means it is good enough as MaNa is also in the main. MaNa takes the 1-0 lead in this best of 7. Well done. I think it's that feint of a counterattack where he's like, hey, I'm going. And Hype kept so many units at home, and MaNa's army is so quick, right? The Wasps are so quick, the Stingers are so quick, that all those units he had threatening the counterattack, they turned around, they helped out in the center, and that is what allowed MaNa to barely win that fight. But winning it barely was good enough, because it was 3 bases against 2.
Yep, and that's all you had to do. Get that cleanup. He already did the rest of the work and lead up to that. As now we set up for game 2. too, and we'll see if Hype has a different approach. We'll see if MaNa sticks to the Wasp as well. I haven't seen a lot of people really kind of playing too many Wasps, right? Like, we saw a little bit of it, but Scorpions have been really popular. Some recalls, a little bit of Blink. Wasps have been kind of probably one of the more underplayed basic units outside of, well, Crabs.
And I think if you're a Hype, there's no need to really switch it up, because I think deck-wise, I do like what he has the potential for. I like where he can go. He just kind of lost this one on execution, and that could obviously be a problem throughout the series, because MaNa's execution is always going to be very high. But I think there is a lot of potential in the units that Hype was building. I think initially he did totally fine. If we can just make sure that we don't lose that third base, and we get the shockers a tiny bit quicker, or we don't leave that many units at home, it really could have gone his way. I do gotta say though, kudos to MaNa, because his deck looks incredibly fun to play. I don't know if it's the best deck out there, but it does look damn fun to walk around with that many fast units. And if you're a great RTS gamer, I think you can get a lot of value out of this deck.
Yeah, it's very fun. You're going to be everywhere. You've got a lot of counterattack potential, a lot of movement potential. Just fun all around, as we have gotten rid of the Shocker, by the way, in favor of the Mortar. I think that's where the Butterflies come into play, because the Butterflies can be something of a, something in the sky that can fight against those Mortars as well and clean those up. So, and MaNa actually has the Locust on the tier 3 tech. Very interested if he ever gets to those.
Barely seen it. I have no idea how it functions.
It costs 50. No power cost, just 50 of the red resource.
Yeah.
And they're just super spammable, and they just laser things down. They're like Marines that can fly.
Basically the assault bot that can fly.
Yeah, kind of.
Alright, sounds very fun. I should try it.
Yeah,
It's just that cat boss is so cool, Rotti. What can I do?
Yeah, I know. Like it's hard to put the cat bus down, isn't it? As some wasps here is going to move around, try and catch a couple of scorps on their own between the bases, but not going to get there now. MaNa actually going to be a bit more active towards the naturalist game than he was last time, but the Scorpions are in position, so Hype is going to do a good job of pushing that back.
Yep, MaNa is going to fire up tier 2 Starforge, and Hype is actually doing the same, so he can build mammoths and he can build butterflies as well. Maybe butterflies, pure butterflies, actually a pretty good choice here, right? Because the only thing that MaNa could really do against that is hornets. But first we need to make sure that we don't lose the fight between the Scorpions and the Wasp too quickly. So far he hasn't. He's going to bring all those other Scorpions back around from the center. It's a better early game fight for MaNa, but I still believe that Defender's advantage should be good enough here for Hype. And I do think MaNa is going to struggle dealing with dragonflies.
Yeah, dragonflies. Well, I mean, it depends how many hornets he gets, right? Because hornets are actually okay against dragonflies, because dragonflies aren't the sturdiest of like air units, so they are super mobile, which is the issue. And they can obviously, if they get between your bases, they can be very annoying. But in terms of fighting, I think the hornets can kind of hold their own. So it's, as always, the balancing act, right? Like, how many of each unit do you build? How much do you kind of commit into what? I think MaNa wants to go quite stinger heavy, but that's going to take up a lot of the power. He only builds 4 here, so he's going to save a little bit of money to go elsewhere if he needs to.
Yeah, I think he's waiting to see if he has to worry about a lot of mammoths or if he has to worry about a lot of dragonflies. And what he has to worry about is a crazy amount of dragonflies. He is going to try to go for that base. The dragonflies need to show up immediately, and they will. And now MaNa needs to go absolutely ham on the hornets. That's the only anti-air he can build. He can build a ridiculous amount of them, though, because he was saving Rotti, like you pointed out.
Yeah, he built a lot. He didn't even spend all of his money yet. Now he builds even more. That's going to actually... No, actually, he builds more stingers, so he's just going to leave his hornets to go chase down the dragonflies, and he's going to let everything else go across the map, so I kind of like that for MaNa. This feels like his army on the other side is very scary. Let's see what these mammoths can do defensively here, as the Wasps are obviously going to hold the front quite nicely. And it's really about how much damage the stingers can put out, as we are going to, at the very least, they'll get the base, which is a big kill. But is the army from Hyper just a little bit too much, or is MaNa going to be absolutely okay if this comes across the other way?
While he got the base, he also took a really good fight with the Hornets. It kind of felt that all the multitasking got a bit too much for Hype, and he dirked a little bit with his Dragonflies, and he took a very awkward, unnecessary fight with the Dragonflies against the Hornets. So I actually think he's in trouble, but yeah, he does have a bunch of mammoths, but it is really now or never, right? He needs to either deal economic damage somewhere, or he needs to take out the base. If he doesn't do either of those things, I think he's in serious trouble, and we may be looking at a 2-0 lead for MaNa.
Yeah, I think MaNa is looking very... I mean, he's 80 supply ahead. We see Hype trying to switch into ground units, which... the mortars can be very effective, I suppose, at kind of slowing down this army if you get them set up. The problem is, how do you ever get them set up? As MaNa is just going to come running across to the top side and is just going to threaten the fight again. Doesn't necessarily need to force it because he's up a base already. As he just dives in with the stingers, gets half damage done to a mammoth, backs away, starts a fourth. I was going to say that's probably the best thing you can do, right? Just take even more of an eco lead. It just guarantees the ability to spam out units to a victory.
And going for run-bys against such a fast army of MaNa seems unlikely. MaNa's going to have eyes everywhere, all over this map, and at this point it becomes very awkward for Hypex. He's going to try to make his way into some mortars, into some destroyers, but it's going to take a long time before he gets them. And even if he does get them, 2 bases against 4. I mean, being down 1 base sometimes sucks, but you can still make something out of it. Being down 2 bases seems like it's almost impossible to overcome. As MaNa is just not really taking any really bad fights. He's dancing around a little bit. What has he just built? More wasps. Okay.
Yeah, just gonna get more of the... I think he just knows that as long as he has some wasps in front, the stingers are already in good enough numbers to deal the damage, right? So he just wants to get that tankiness up, as that's where the mortars come into play. That's where it's gonna be a little scary. He's on his way to Locust. I think if he can just spam out Locust, he'd be good to just clean up everything, but the problem is he's not quite on that tech yet. He might have to go butterflies on his way there. I don't think I'd hate it, because it's not like there's any anti-air at all for Hype, so... but MaNa can obviously buy a lot of time.
Hype's army is sick, and Hype is definitely going to get, I think, that center base. What I would really love is to see him split off, like 12 Scorpions now as well, to the top left, because he doesn't need his entire army to take out this center base. He's got more than enough to take out the center base, but he needs to do more than just killing this base, right? He needs to be splitting off units to the top left. That's what he's doing right now. As MaNa thinks about maybe going for an all-out base trade, no more. One mortar is going to see job, but one mortar cannot hold down the line forever. So we're going to need a lot of defensive units here for Hype. Great counter-attack by MaNa.
Yeah, he just knows exactly what he can do, and he can start to put some serious work in. And now he can build the Locust, by the way, so they're going to spawn, and there is just not really the anti-air available. I think they do cost a little bit of power now, actually, and yeah, they just laser as they come through and clean up.
Hey, MaNa is looking very good, eh?
Yeah.
MaNa looks like a natural, man. Yeah.
A Locust must cost a little bit of gas, actually. A little bit of power, so it's 50-50. But still, you build them, they nuke things.
It's going to be a tough one for Hype, who I do think is playing well, right? He actually sort of started to make something out of that, but he was just so far behind. And MaNa made all the correct calls earlier. MaNa just looks very strong and looks like a very difficult deck to play against. Even if you're a Scorpion player and you normally have no fear to go 3 base against 3 base, maybe that's not the way to go against MaNa, or... I don't know. It's also very hard because if you play 2 base, it just kind of feels that MaNa's going to out-expand you, and then he's going to attack the right way. This will always be difficult. But I still believe this can be a competitive best of 7, but MaNa is playing really good.
Yeah, MaNa is playing top-notch right now. He's playing fast. He's playing everywhere. That's very fun to see. And we'll see if Hype can start kind of handling that, see if he can start dealing with it as we get into these next games.
2-0 lead. If this best of 7 is over, Rotti, it is showtime, my friend.
Showtime. I'm ready.
Yeah, are you ready?
No, I actually saw my opponent, and they smashed me the last 3 times I played them, so I'm hoping to take a game.
Oh, no. Who is it?
Novea Star.
Okay, I think I played against them once. I think I also lost Rotti, so that makes 2 of us.
Yeah.
Hey, completely different deck coming out of both players. Hype completely switching it up. He's going to go Recallers with Recall Shockers, Mortars, and Snipers. Meanwhile, MaNa is playing Blink. And besides that, I feel like it's pretty similar. He's got Heavy Hunter, he's got Crusader, he's got Heavy Ballista. But Blink is different coming out of MaNa and Scorpions too. So it takes the 2-0 lead with Wasp, and he decides to completely switch it up.
Yeah, just going to be... getting the Blinks on the way. I mean, I think MaNa's been very confident with the Blinks when he has played them. This Blink Scorpion combo has been fairly popular. Again, I feel like when it comes to playing against the Recalls, I'm not sure how much I love the Scorpions versus just having more Blinks. But we'll see how MaNa utilizes it as he goes instantly into that 3rd base. Interesting to see the Recall play attacking. Usually Recall is like, hey, I'm going to take the 3rd base and go from here, but he's just going to attack instantly.
Goes for Starforge, by the way, with Mammoth and Advanced Recalls.
He's going to play Advanced Recalls. There's no splash damage in MaNa's army, and as long as there's not splash damage, the Advanced Recalls are going to be very difficult for MaNa to deal with, I imagine. So the downside of Advanced Recalls is they're just super slow. So that's what MaNa can kind of take advantage of, but in a straight-up fight, he does need to find something. Like I said, it's going to be tough without Splash. Yeah, I don't know about the Mammoth Butterfly, honestly. Maybe the Butterfly's just because the advanced recalls can't shoot up, so that's maybe your best call.
Yep, I think that is the idea here. And maybe a couple of Butterflies to harass as well. And MaNa's just going to try to stretch the multitasking abilities of his opponent. Because MaNa, even though we tease him sometimes for being an old man, he looks damn quick whenever he plays StarCraft II, and he looked incredibly quick in these first 2 games here as well, so...
Yeah, very speedy, very all over the place, and now going to be playing with this as we do get ourselves the advanced recalls recalling to the front of that 3rd base, which just got set up, and we start to push. This is where you would like your Blinks to kind of intercept a little bit. He's actually going to threaten the counterattack and try and pull this back. I like it. As MaNa's just going to get straight on top of this base. He's already had some value from his base, so if you go base for a base as MaNa, I actually think it's okay. And obviously getting rid of this forward base takes away so much mobility of the recall player as well, so kind of has that extra effect. If you blink on top of a Mammoth, and Blinks don't really care about Mammoths, so they will get rid of that after a few rounds of fire.
Yep, but does MaNa have enough at home though? What is he going to do? He's going to go mass Butterfly to clean up this army, but I think you just kill the base and you recall everything home. Obviously Butterflies are scary, but I think you just click on the base. No, he felt he couldn't get it. Do you think he was able to get it?
No, I think he loses too much.
Okay.
I mean, he would have got it, but he would have lost a lot, and then maybe he just doesn't think he can then deal with a larger attack. MaNa already re-expanding. Maybe you just have to go for it and hope anyway, though, because obviously, if he did get it, then he would have been up on economy for a while, so maybe that swings things.
Here's a problem, though, for Hybrid, because he's playing Advanced Blinks. He doesn't have airships or anything. His anti-air really sucks. The only thing he has is the basic recall anti-air.
And they aren't great.
No, they are not great. They are so slow, so you're basically always going to be a little bit out of position, and he already ends up losing 10 workers immediately. A very different game 3 here between these two, but once more it does seem like it's going to go MaNa's way, unless we can somehow get all these Butterflies. Okay, maybe the wasn't too bad on the side of Hype. There is still a chance. He's got an army supply lead. Can he somehow get enough to the other side of the map and not die to a counterattack? As MaNa is actually looking to maybe get on top of the base or get on top of all these recall hunters. Recall.
Yeah, they have to recall, but then recall to where, I guess? Like, I guess just away a little bit. We kill the 3rd base, as we are going to now recall home with this army, and, well, now 2 bases versus 2. Just, of course, we're rebuilding some of the economy off the natural of Hype. You obviously can't recall that Mammoth home, so that will get stuck in the center, and MaNa just instantly re-expands again. Yep. Down on army supply, just on supply though, bandwidth as MaNa.
We're gonna see Locust against Valkyrie. How does that go?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Same, I have not seen it yet.
I feel like the Valkyrie should destroy Locust.
Alright, let's see if they actually will. Let's see if we can buy enough time. MaNa immediately going up to 3 bases again, so obviously did not put all of his money in Mass Locust. We'll look for some damage, maybe a couple of advanced or recall hunters. Rather keep the main save. Yes, we do. Can we keep the natural save on the side of Hype? Yes, we do, but here come those Locusts. They are annoying, but a couple of recall hunters will push them away from them.
I want to just see the Valkyries spawn and just see what they do against the Locust, because genuinely very intrigued as to how it pans out, whether the Valkyries really do just shove them back or how that looks. And there's a few Locusts just sitting in that corner. Valkyries about to be able to be built. You don't want to overbuild them though, because there's only the Locusts as air units. Boom. He builds one, he's going to run that in. Yeah, they destroy it.
Alright, so now MaNa has a serious anti-air problem, because the only anti-air MaNa can build are Locusts. But if they destroy, they get destroyed, what can he build?
Yeah, heavy hunters. He has to go second into the ground and then just play to buy time until they're ready.
That's going to be very difficult, but he's going to do his absolute best with all his Blinks in the center of the map as he is threatening another tiny counterattack, maybe with a couple of his Locusts, but it's starting to look better and better for Hype. The man who's down 0-2 in this best of 7 has played an excellent 3rd game here, Ward. He really had an answer for everything that the MaNa threw his way, and it wasn't easy. He was down a base from time to time, but it actually seems like he has made the correct calls. And eventually he ended up exactly where he needed to be. This is maybe not a fight that he should totally take, even though he's got a couple of advanced recalls in here. I would like to see them get a tiny bit of support, but I don't think it really matters. Look at this monstrous army that Hype still has on the other side of the map. After 6 minutes, MaNa is about to become a 1-base player, and I think that will do it.
Yeah, I think so. MaNa is not going to have an army up that can really fight this, I don't think. He built his own Mammoths, but this is where a few of those advanced recalls still in there are going to do a lot of damage still. They recall everything back home. We're up a base. We do not need to force fights out of position. You can just take control of this game as Hype and just sit back and let this play out now.
He could technically go tier 2 Foundry as well if he wants to.
Yeah, he could do.
Maybe he doesn't have to,
Could be
but he
interesting.
could. I don't know if you really want to continue building air when there is a chance for some heavy hunters. But yeah, MaNa is a one-base player. So I think at this point you just spend your money and you just build as much as you can. Maybe just go for a whole bunch of advanced recalls because he still has access to those.
Yep. I think I think advanced recalls are just going to smash everything that's in this. Like I say, without splash damage, advanced recalls are very hard to trade against. The Crusaders especially will just die to those, as I just want to be sure we're not going to be underprepared against this. We do just recall into the fight, and we are going to start smashing through. There is plenty here for Hype. It takes a little while to get going. The Blinks are doing okay, but the numbers do not lie.
Yep. Sick game, man. Very impressive because MaNa looked so damn good in these first two games, and I was afraid this could have gone 4-0. But Hype looked competitive, and it felt that those games were close. And he's showing us here that he absolutely has the skills to make this one hell of a best of 7. He's sitting on money for days, by the way. I think he's just wondering what he needs to spend it on. Maybe he's worried that MaNa was sitting on some money and would once more show up with a bunch of Locusts. But Valkyries looked incredibly good against him. So I think your initial feeling, Rotti, was spot on. Valkyries smash Locust, and yeah, we're all good.
Yeah, I mean, Valkyrie's a tier 3 dedicated anti-air unit, and the Locusts are meant to be kind of like swarmy, so just like yeah, I mean, they each one got one shot, so yeah, it's doesn't naturally kind of make for a good situation, as there is going to be the one Valkyrie going across the map is going to go and try its best, and like you said, what can MaNa build? I guess a heavy hunter to deny that, and he does build a couple of them, so I mean, that's great and all, but they don't really help you on the ground at the moment.
MaNa is basically dead, and he's about to lose his economy. There go the workers, 2-minute warning, and MaNa will just give up. Yeah, he's got no more income. He cannot possibly kill the army of his opponent. I would have liked to see one final battle, because seeing units disappear is satisfying. But GG, incredibly cool game by Hype. Seems like the recall is working out for him. Had to work hard for it. It was far from easy, Rotti, but he played it well.
Yep. Very nicely done. Very well played game. Like, it definitely felt like MaNa had a lot of initial momentum and everything, but Hype kind of stayed in it, stuck it out. Nicely handled.
And also what a call in the end to not really commit your army and trying to kill that natural of MaNa.
Yeah.
He felt it was not worth it. He had the better tier 3 Starforge if he would ever get there. And it was a bit close, but he did get there and got out in time. And I also think he did a very good job in dealing with the butterflies, because I was kind of worried that the butterflies were just going to fly around his bases, kill his workers over and over again, and MaNa was going to show up in an 80 supply lead. But, you know, those recall hunters, not too shabby.
Not too shabby. Yeah, they're pretty, they better than... I think a lot of the tier 1 anti-air units sometimes do better than you think. It's still wild how many different interactions there are with, like, the tier 1 anti-air versus different just air units.
Yep.
Very interesting as we get into game number 4. MaNa still leads 2-1. What has he gone for this time? Still going to play the Blink. In fact, going to just stick to what he had last game.
But Hype has
snipers.
Gunbot Scorpion.
It's fun.
Yes, I love Gunbots. I mean, I like Scorpions as well, but I love I feel like we've seen, out of all the starting units, I think Gunbot least appreciated, no?
That and crabs, man. That and crabs.
Yeah, okay, crap. I don't
We saw a lot of gunbots in Trigger and Parting.
That is true,
yesterday.
but that was in the very beginning of like 12 best of 7s that we've seen so far. And besides that, I think there was one more game where we had Gunbots dancing in the center of the map. That is about it. Yeah, we haven't seen any Krabbies. Oh, poor Krabbies need love too.
Nice catch here from MaNa early. Going to catch some of these Scorpions that are trying to hide out in the top. So that will not go anywhere at all for him.
Couple fun little skirmishes here, and obviously at this point it's a bit of a game. MaNa here's tier 2. As you said earlier, it doesn't really have any splash damage. Man, I love what Hype has here, by the way. Because if Hype ever gets up to assault bots, I think MaNa has a serious issue with his deck. I mean, sure, snipers are cool and all, but mass assault bot is incredibly difficult for MaNa to deal with. I think on paper, I like this for Hype.
Yeah, there's that question mark of just splash damage, right? MaNa doesn't really play with splash, so a lot of these units can be very good. As Hype gets the Crusader, gets the Heavy Hunters on the way, that's exactly what MaNa techs into as well.
If it's just pure Gunbot Crusader against Blink Crusader, I think that is slightly better for the Gunbot player, especially if you play defensively. Even though we are playing with Gunbots, we do still have Scorpion run-bys. Hype is really starting to turn this series around as he takes a good fight with Gunbots in the center of the map as well. And Rotti, we cannot ignore the fact that his tech choices way down the line are also better than the one of MaNa. And Hype is all over MaNa. MaNa, who looked so damn good in Game 1 and Game 2, lost Game 3, and in Game 4 he's already in all sorts of trouble as he loses all 16 workers in the third, and there are still so many gunbots remaining. Hype is dominating.
Well, yeah, I mean, not a pretty situation at all for MaNa, who will start to fight back a little bit here, though, if you can get rid of some of the gunbots, maybe some success that he had, but yeah, they're going to get back onto this base, which is only halfway along. The base already mined, of course, from Hype as well, so the income's starting to go into his favor. Now able to build his own tech units here, which is going to bring him right up in supply. It's going to be a bunch of tanky Crusaders. That's going to be true on both sides.
If I'm Hype, I immediately fire up tier 3 as well. Like, I think you're far enough ahead economically that you can just stabilize by spending all your extra money on Crusader gunbot, and then if you have tier 3 online, you just straight up win. Instead, we are just going to battle here a little bit. The gunbot's not always participating. Very good micro there on one of the Crusaders by MaNa. MaNa actually taking an incredibly good fight here, but I still don't think it's enough, even though that's an excellent forward blink. MaNa has momentum advantage, but he's just going to have a much tougher time reinforcing. Hype should just chill a little bit, mate. You've already done so good. Why don't you chill a tiny bit and wait until you have a slightly bigger army?
Now some of MaNa's Crusaders getting stuck behind his blinks as we'll get rid of a couple of those here. This way I feel like the gunbots are not going to scale as well deeper into this game. And right now the gunbots are getting jumped on top of the Crusaders and not protecting them, so we're losing a lot. MaNa is getting the better Crusader fight as well. More Crusaders fighting at any point. Microing great as well. Some of those low HP Crusaders being pulled back. However, now Hype starting to look a little bit better as MaNa is still trying to rally some units over here. More Crusaders showing up. This is getting crazy.
Mega close. I do feel like Hype did him a favor, right, by fighting on MaNa's side of the map for a little while, and MaNa did a great job with one of those Crusaders. He kept on pulling it back, kept on bringing it forward, and the gunbots, they were running, but they were not fighting. Meanwhile, all the blinks of MaNa were fighting all the time. I really wish that Hype would have immediately fired up tier 3 and just defend. If MaNa wants to attack, let him run into a concave of Crusader gunbot. But maybe Hype is just getting a little bit excited, right? He feels he's got MaNa right where he wants him. He wants to go for the base, but he also doesn't want to lose too many units. It's a close fight here, but it's a lot of Crusaders on the side of Hype. And we've got a run-by happening into the natural of MaNa.
Yeah, Scorpion's going to show up on the natural. MaNa's not had to think about a defense there at all until now, so there just wasn't anything pre-prepared. As I think we are still going to have quite a few blinks left here. Is it enough to get through those Crusaders, fight those gunbots? MaNa might still be looking at something of a cleanup. The problem is he's going to be without economy on his natural. There's a couple of Crusaders that have gotten there to clean up, but he only has 2 workers left standing. He's going to lose his third base as well. And Hype, money in the bank as well, is looking good as he is finally on his way to those assault bots.
He's not just looking good, he is looking fantastic. MaNa was also attacking to tier 3, but yeah, MaNa lost all of his workers. This game is over, but I'm very happy MaNa ain't leaving yet, because I want to see the assault bot shine, Rotti. I've been waiting for it. 12 best of 7s. I just want to see some assault bots. I think we're going to see them here.
Yep, as a little Scorpion attack up here gets blinked on, and that will not be able to retreat, so,
yeah, so
nice
many.
catch from MaNa.
At this point, by the way, I want to see him move all of his other units away and fight pure assault bot. It is so satisfying, Rotti. This is truly music to your ears. Assault bots is so cool.
Oh, here they come. I'm just going to walk to the front as we get ready to take the fight. MaNa is setting up to come in towards this third base, but yeah, those assault bots are likely going to be a big problem.
Oh, they are going to be a game-ending problem. Here come the boys. Brrr, there's all the snipers are going to get obliterated as well. I love assault bots. So happy to see them. And it is Hype who ties things up. That previous best of 7 was good. But boy oh boy, we are looking at some 2 gamers now as well. MaNa and Hype putting up an excellent show. As we're all tied up after 4 games, 2 apiece here in this $200 best of 7. Sick game as well. Really, really fun.
Sick game as we get ourselves then tied up. The last couple series have definitely been living up to the hype a bit, right, Rotti? As we now have 2-2 once again. And so we have ourselves 2 or 3 more maps of this one to go.
So Rotti, can you also make a promise? As you are obviously our next player for the Caster Aces. Assuming, you already said you don't feel very confident, but assume that you're somehow up 3-0. Are you going to give us some crabbies in game 4?
Some crabbies?
Yeah.
Sure.
If you have a 3-0 lead, I think we can build some crabbies now.
If I'm up 3-0, I will build crabs.
Nice.
I will represent the crabs.
Crabbies need love too. Come on now.
Alright, here we go into game number 5. It's tied up between these two.
Ooh.
Oh, Wasp.
Wasp. And both players will expand. It's always a funny moment, right? When you press space, you take a look, you're like, wait a minute, Wasp? Okay, that's feisty. Also completely different tier 3s. Double tier 3 on the side of Hype. As MaNa has single tier 3, said goodbye to the sniper and realizes that he does need some splash damage eventually. And says hello to the heavy ballista.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think as well I would like to see the Locust change those as tier 3 air tech just in case he ends up playing an air game again, which is fairly likely with this army comp. The Locusts are fast, but I feel like there's just something you can do that's a bit more... I feel like there's just more you can get out of like a tier 3 air choice than those Locusts, considering your opponent has such good anti-air options, so... I don't think Locusts are going to do well against airships or Valkyries.
Different choices here. MaNa goes up to 3 bases with the Wasp, while Hype says 2 base. He only has mortars on 2 base, but what he could, by the way, do is just make mortars, stabilize on 3 bases, get mortars everywhere. I feel like MaNa needs to play air here. If MaNa does not play air, I actually think he's in trouble, because I think he will lose against the double tier 3 ground of Hype, and Hype can always stabilize with mortars on 3 bases.
Yeah, I think the air choice, the Starforge is the way to go. We're going to see it in a second. He's going to hit 400 power. And he's going to start up.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think that's the only right choice. I think if MaNa would play ground here, I think he'd be Omega. Not dead, but he'd be in so much trouble.
Yeah, I think he'd be fine against the mortars, but it's when the tier 3 tech kicks in, it gets very scary, right? The Behemoths are super tanky. There's like no way for him to get through Behemoths, actually, right?
Is MaNa about to be out multitask here for the first time? MaNa is going to take a good fight. He's looking for the surround with the Wasp, but his workers are exposed. Now, Wasp don't kill workers that quickly anymore, but MaNa is still going to lose a couple here, and that's very, very annoying. And with a couple, I think we're looking at least a handful, if not more than that.
Yeah, this is, 5 workers going down. Could have been a lot worse. First mortars are up as MaNa. I love the fast 4th base. Because you know what? Your opponent, you see that he's going to attack again. At least make him move a lot around the map to be able to get your bases. I think that's a great choice. I like it.
Yeah, I think it's the perfect choice as well. We haven't seen too much quick 4 bases yet, but MaNa knows that his opponent is just going to wait until tier 3 Foundry comes online, waiting for those advanced blinks, waiting for those biomorphs, as you call them. What is the actual term again? I have behemoth, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the biomorphs, though. I think we should just stick with the biomorphs.
You like the BMOs? Okay.
So many bios out there. I mean, this is funny, right? Because Hype is completely okay with the fact that he's the 2-base player right now. And MaNa, even if he's on 4 bases, he's going to go pretty ham on the butterflies. I almost feel like you shouldn't show them yet. You should show them when you have even more.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think this is a mistake. I think this is a mistake by MaNa. I feel like he should have only revealed it when he has even more. But yeah, you're going to have advanced blinks too. And advanced blinks do shoot up.
MaNa goes a ground tech behind this, so he's just sitting in a massive concave and sort of saying, hey, come out into me with all of your tech then. And the Behemoth looks so cool as a unit, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're big and they are incredibly tanky. I don't know how long it takes for a Wasp round to kill a BO, but I feel like it's forever.
The 10-minute time is not actually long enough for that one, so...
No, I feel like that just might not ever happen before the time officially runs out. MaNa did a good job there with his butterflies coming in from the bottom right, getting on top of a couple of the mortars, but he did not get all of them. There's still one remaining. I mean, one mortar is something he can absolutely jump on, but now we have a couple of advanced blinks and a behemoth in the mix as well. Mortars are so freaking good against Wasp. However, Wasp and Stingers will somehow be good enough to kill it. This game is just bananas, Rotti. We have 2 very scary, monstrous armies as 2 behemoths are going to work on that base in the top left. MaNa's just going to go for the main right helmet.
Yeah, he's going to go for all the workers as well, so Hype cannot build any other units. This is going to be a question of damage output, and I actually don't know if it's going to be interesting, right? MaNa's going to build some Crusaders to try and buy time. I mean, you can only get so many units attacking at once, but I think MaNa just has enough, and he's actually just going to base trade to victory.
Sick. Well done by MaNa, realizing his win condition. He looks at the army and he says, I can't fight that, but what I can do is just make sure that either you turn around and I can still enjoy my 4 bases, or I'm just going to straight up win the base trade. I often underestimate how good Stingers are in base trade scenarios. So I feel like they are incredibly good against buildings. They're so good in zapping down workers or any unit that's being spawned to like buy time in the base trade. I feel like everything just melts against Stingers.
Yeah, Stingers are wild, man.
Yeah.
They're really good. I
That
feel like the
means MaNa.
Stingers...
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I feel like the Stingers are the sort of unit I really felt like were going to be changed loads, and then they've just constantly not been changed. Like, it's really impressive.
Yeah. Couple very strong 1-base builds as well possible with Stingers, where you're not supposed to lose against the 1-base all-ins, but I find like Scorpion Stinger or Wasp Stinger pretty difficult to deal with.
Yeah, no, it's powerful, man. Super powerful.
Means MaNa takes the 3-2 lead in our 5th best of 7 of the day. We've got 3 more after this. Next up is Rotti. Rotti playing against one of the folks that got selected through the Battle Aces Discord. After Rotti, we'll take a tiny break, and then we have me playing. I don't know if I have an opponent. Do I have an opponent?
I don't think so, not yet.
Don't tell me, I don't want to get nervous yet.
No, I get nervous.
Yeah. And last but not least, we've got KJ, the man who runs Storm Gaming, and a long time supporter of the StarCraft II scene and a big RTS fan. But first, we're going to watch MaNa versus Hype. This has been an excellent series. I feel it's the kind of series that deserves a Game 7, Rotti.
I'm always about a Game 7. I'm going to see Wasp Recall. That's not a common combination.
Nope. Maybe there's like one. Maybe he feels like. Actually, he did get saved by those Recall Hunters. If he didn't have Recall Hunters, he would have straight up died against the butterflies. Maybe he just wants to out-expand MaNa. Maybe he feels confident by playing pure Recall that he can always out-expand MaNa and he can just force MaNa to be the one to tech first.
Could be an interesting way to play about it. Well, I just sit here, sit back, and MaNa just takes the 3rd base immediately, which probably is the likely outcome with the Wasps. We just wait for Hype to put some tech down or decide what he's doing.
He's going to expand too. I think he's totally fine, right? As long as you don't give any openings. Like your main can take some damage here, that's fine. Just want to make sure you don't lose any workers too early on. I think he's honestly going to play tech chicken with the MaNa, and he's going to say, MaNa, you reveal your hand first. And I don't think, even if MaNa would want to go up to 4 bases, you can't really play 4 base Wasp, right? That's just ridiculous.
No, you just don't have enough strength for 4 bases before anything else really starts coming online. So you're going to try and find a fight here, gets a wrap on some of these recalls. That's some okay damage. We do recall fully to the 3rd. That's going to be too big a clump to actually fight. I don't think we should try and surround this. I don't like that.
MaNa's army is so weird because he goes now Crusader Wasp. It's just like the most odd combo out there. However, I think if MaNa plays this smart, he doesn't skip a single second on tier 2 and he fires up tier 3 immediately, right? Because with heavy ballistas, yeah, I like where his army is going to go. But without heavy ballistas, he just has an ultra awkward army.
That's very true, as we do see a collection of Wasps coming down that left-hand side, going to end up on the natural. And we do have Wasps actually winning the fight on the 3rd base, so that's actually going to be a big deal. As we've just been having the recalls have to go elsewhere, and this base is in some trouble. Workers going down, some damage taken. MaNa is clearing up the attack on his own natural. Can he actually finish the base off? He's going to get every single worker. The base on top of it would be amazing. It's possible, right? I mean, the recall's not in great numbers, and MaNa looking amazing if he gets this.
Yep, we are going to recall. MaNa is going to turn around, and he's sending more Wasp to the center. He's still working on it. A couple of extra recalls might just save the day. I think we saved the 3rd, but we don't save, obviously, the 16 workers we lost here. I think it was a bit too eager by Hype to also start building Wasp and think of damage on the other side of the map. He should have just been focused on defending perfectly. He's not totally dead yet, but it's going to be so difficult for him to deal with these Crusaders. Mortars need to siege right here, right now. They will siege. Do we have enough buffer for the Mortars? I kind of feel like the answer is no. The base will die. The recallers will die. I think the Mortars will die. And with that, Hype will die. All Hype is gone. It's MaNa who gets the dub, 4-2. After a great fight with Wasp versus Recallers. This Hype already spent some of his money on Wasp on the other side of the map. Really fun best of 7 though. Excellent show.
Yeah, great stuff, man. It was really fun. Hype definitely bringing it back, putting a fight into action, and then just not quite enough to keep it going as MaNa just a little bit and is able to close up.